All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Callahan Training Group podcast. This is season 2, episode 12, I think now. Getting deep into it. It's finally melted outside. Season has started. I'm already doing my weekly matches again. Private training is back in a big way. I'm outside actually experiencing recoil again and off the VR system. Well, splitting time now at least. While I got everybody on the clickbait title, I figured I'd start with the little merchant sponsor shout out. Wearing a new hat, all my new merch. I have an insane amount of options now on my website. I'm working with a new company, drop shipping in a couple of days. I'm rid of the old woes. I want to shout out a bunch of sponsors today. First and foremost, Vortex Optics. I've been rocking all their stuff. I was shooting a PCC today with a bunch of optics out in the rain. All my carry optics guns, everything's got Vortex Optics on it. They're all milled on by Impact Machine. Impact Machine down in Louisiana does all my slide cuts, gunsmithing work. I don't trust anybody else with my guns or to touch my stuff really at this point. As far as ammo goes, Outdoor Dynamics is the only competition ammo I run and recommend running. It's just the only guy that I see out there supporting our sport to a large degree and puts out ammo for every gun. It's kind of nice. My favorite stuff anyway. I'm not saying anything else is bad. It's just my favorite stuff. Ghost holsters, best holsters I've used. I've been using their stuff for about 10 years, their pouches for about 10 years. I've been using their Hydra P, their holster, for, I don't know, a good 5 years now. Big fan of their holsters. I've been using them for production division, carry optics, limited optics. The Evo holster I've been using for open. I have a carry holster from them, a little bit of everything. There's modern material rifles. I was actually, speaking of PCC, I was ripping PCC out in the rain today. Thank God for PCC and days like that. But that gun runs. I was actually running a bunch of box ammo today. My Outdoor Dynamics customer was running his, I believe, the Super Vel load that they're going to be taking to the World Shoot with them, because he's a student of mine who's in World Shoot, and it was running that stuff all day today very well. I actually have a new beard product company called Locks and Company, a local PA guy. Doing all my stuff. But I always like to shout the guys out. I always say that I would buy this stuff anyway. I do buy this stuff anyway. I support all these people. It's just the way it goes. I just want to give a shout out to the people who also sponsor my matches, send banners and stuff. I have a lot of matches coming this year. A bunch of them are already full. The USPSA matches on the weekends till like September are full. The 2-gun and rifle matches are full for the same thing till I think August. They're all full on the weekends. That's the Saturday or Sunday matches. That said, my weekly matches are back every Wednesday and Friday. I do a USPSA match. It's a unique match every week. It's 6 stages, at least a classifier, and I call it a scrimmage because really it's one it's one squad at a time, because it's 11-3, just me and up to 10 people on a Wednesday, and it's like a coached match. It's the way I kind of call it. I don't coach you while you're shooting, obviously, because it's a legit match. I'm an affiliated club. We run Classifier. Everything is done by the book and legit. It's just that before the run, after the run, I'm there to give you some input. I run the match. It's about you guys, not about me. But that's kind of a little option that I'm putting out there. I also have a bunch of classes for competition fundamentals this year. It's one of my flagship courses. It's a day or a 2-day option, depending on when you catch me, going from start to end on what to practice, how to shoot, how to progress, how to train myself is really the big thing. And I'm trying to increase people's match scores and their hit factor and their output. I'm not just trying to make them good at drills. I'm trying to make them good for the long term here. I also have Mason Lane coming in the end of March. I'm sorry, the end of May. It's like May 30th through June 1st. He has two-day classes coming. Steve Anderson is going to be coming this year, and Kita is on the calendar at some point as well. So check my website. I have all that stuff up there. But enough with the do-goodery. Bill drills are dumb. I said it, and I'm going to keep saying it. They're dumb because they're simple. They're too simple. So they're dumb by themselves. That's kind of what I'm going to say. I'm really sick of seeing bill drills online being like the precipice of being like a good shooter or a fast shooter. It doesn't really mean anything by itself. First and foremost, I'm going to break a bunch of people's hearts. If you post a 7-yard bill drill and there's a single Charlie, it's a fail. If you're dropping Charlies inside of 7 yards, it's a fail. Mathematically, Charlies aren't worth it. You want to go back to one of my podcasts, the hit factor and scoring math stuff. I'll explain to you exactly what I mean by that, but you can't justify Charlies inside of 7 yards just because you're fast. That said, bill drills, all alpha, cool. Bill drills again and again at the same pace, being able to spit out alphas with the same draw, even better. I'd hope you could do it cold, right? Cold metrics are a lot more important. But my big thing that I'm going to start with is stop trying to beat drills. Stop trying to beat them. There's no beating. There's no winning bill drill. There's no winning doubles. There's no winning bunny hop or bar hop or whatever you want to call it. There's no winning for aces. Stop it. They're drills that have a certain couple skills that they work on, that if you want to work on those couple skills, that drill is a good way to do it. Simple as that. I want people to stop trying to like use the drills as a tell of how good you are. Performance metrics, matches are a tell. There's way better and longer ways to shoot to start to see if I actually am a good shooter. It's not just a 1 in 10 runs. I put up a 156 bill drill and I'm a fast shooter now and I'm a GM. It's so stupid that people are trying to like beat these drills. Bill drills are the first one that I see all the time because it's a shared commonality between like people generally agree in the defensive world drawing and shooting 6 is probably enough to stop a threat. The basic shooter likes doing bill drills. Competition shooters like doing bill drills. So I'm picking on bill drills here just because they're well known and well loved. But bill drills are great with a friend. The friend being Blake. Blake drills are the reason I want you to start shooting bill drills. I'm shooting bill drills. I'm starting to give myself a metric. I'm starting to give myself a hard number. I can draw a gun and I can shoot it 6 times at this number. Well, we kind of start to agree that keeping a gun still and shooting it 6 times in a row is a pretty low value skill. We're just starting to set a metric for, hey, if I do my job correctly, this is how quickly I can grip the gun and this is how quickly I can pull the trigger while using my vision to keep 6 shots inside of the alpha. Why that's good is because now you have a metric that you could work on and progress. And this is where I'm a stickler. If you can draw and do a 2-second bill drill, you should be able to do a 2.2 second bill drill, no slower. Or I'm sorry, 2.2 second Blake drill, no slower. So a bill drill is just draw, shoot 6 shots on a USPSA target at 7 yards. Pretty simple. 1 Charlie is a fail. All 6 have to be alphas. Once you could do that, and you could do that time after time after time after time, what your average time is should be the benchmark that you're going to start to use for your progression. So let's say just for easy math, I have a 2-second bill drill to a large percentage of time. You might have a couple 1/8s in there. You might have a couple 2/1s, 2/2s in there, but 2 seconds is my average. I want you to start to hold me accountable for my Blake drill. I'm going to have 3 targets in front of me, spread a yard apart, 7 yards, and I'm going to be able to draw and fire 2 on each one of those targets, 6 shots, in no less than 10% slower than my bill drill. So if my bill drill was 2.2 seconds is my absolute cap on a Blake drill. Your bill drill is your benchmark for how fast I can do the skill we were talking about. And now the Blake drill is the application of skill in real life. If you can't apply the actual skill of what we're working on in a bill drill, it's useless. So even from the defensive platform, if you're going to draw and do a bill drill, people don't like to get shot. They generally like to move. So you're never going to just stand there and hold a gun still. And if you're a defensive guy, get off the X. You should be moving too. So hopefully the gun's not just parked and sitting there. Just from a performance metric, that's what I want to look for is basically if I can pull the gun out and shoot it 6 times, I want to hold myself I want to hold myself to that benchmark within a certain yardage. And I find that targets within 1 yard of each other at about 7 yards and inward, the splits in the transition should match. So why would I worry about having a faster bill drill if I can't transition faster than that, right? So bill drills, Blake drills, they kind of play together. Another drill that I wanted to beat up on, not beat up on, that sounds mean. It's not that the drill is wrong or the creator was wrong. It's that people overuse or underuse them, in my opinion. They overshoot them and they underuse them, if that makes sense. Doubles is another one of those ones that people just try to like beat the drill. Well, I could shoot 16 doubles. I could shoot 12 doubles. I could shoot doubles at 25 and keep them in the alpha. Okay. Do it in competition then. Like do it. Do it in real life. Do it and don't waste time. Because if you can, then why would I stop you? But my point is people, they get good and comfortable and they get ready to shoot a double. Whew. Pop, pop. And they did exactly a 1 second quote unquote transition to rip an 18 double. So you took 2 shots, 2 alphas in 1 second 0.18 split. I don't care about that. That's generally what people are starting to do. But I do want you to start to use doubles as a skill test. Can I shoot 2 shots in? What am I capable of holding the gun, controlling, and seeing? That's your benchmark, right? You use your doubles, do a bunch of doubles. At a large percentage of time, I can shoot 2 alphas at a 20 split. I'm using 20 splits for easy math again. If I can do that, I should be able to have a low ready start up and be able to actually use that double. So let's start doing some math here. If I could do a double, I got a 0.2 double, right? 0.2, bop, bop, and I have 2 alphas, but it takes me 0.5, 0.6 seconds to start that process. The overall time to shoot 2 alphas is still a really, really long, easy time to beat. So cool, your split's great, but your transitions suck. And you're training that by overtraining doubles. So once you have your benchmark for doubles, 20 split, 20 split, 20 split, I want you to say on the beep, from a low ready perspective, I could react to the beep in a human reactionary gap. There's 0.2. I can come up in about 0.2. I can take the shot in about 0.2. So 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.6 to 0.7 would be an acceptable double from a low ready to me in a performance standard, meaning I can actually take the double and use it. I don't have to stop the double, park it, get good and comfortable to then rip off 2. I could actually understand, hey, the double shows me what I need to see, and I'm going to start using it as soon as I can see it. Cool. So now I can actually use a double, and instead of squeezing out 14 splits and get that extra 0.06 a time, I can actually start affecting my transition times. I can actually start to get tenths and 20ths out in the clock and start to beat that. You ever see somebody shoot a stage and you're like, wow, it didn't look like they were shooting very fast, but they have a really low time. It's because their transitions were better. They're not focusing on splits. And that's where I want to start to get to. Do I want you to slow down? Hell no. That's why the double metric is important. I want you to see what I'm capable of. And then I want you to hold yourself to that without giving up speed in between. It's not good enough to just be good at shooting doubles and then have slow reactionary time, slow transitions, things like that. I want you to start using doubles as a benchmark. Once I know what my benchmark is, I'm going to hold myself to that benchmark. And then the progression doesn't stop there. Low, ready, up, cool. Well, if I can come up to, I should be able to, with that Blake drill set up in front of me, I should be able to come up to over 2 in 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. And now it'd be a great idea to try to say, if I'm really good at doubles, I should be able to come up and shoot 2 on the center one, 2 on the right one in about a second, right? I find it's pretty demanding. That's pretty hard to do. It's not just coming up and blindly squeezing triggers and blindly shooting shots. You're no longer just jumping the gun or jumping the timer or just getting lucky on a second shot. You now have to be responsible for transitions. You have to be responsible for an entry into a target, an exit, and an entry to another target. But man, it's pretty simple. I'm asking you to come low ready up, shoot 2 on one target, transition 1 yard and shoot 2 on another target. That's damn simple. But people are trying to become so good at shooting 2 shots fast that they forget about all the other meat and potatoes in there. What are the meat and potatoes? Well, I have to come up and over. That's going to take more time than just shooting splits. So why am I going to over prioritize splits if most of the meat and potatoes are elsewhere? I want to start to define what is a good enough metric. And I feel like people don't do that. What's a good enough metric to be a GM? 0.2 splits. I don't have to shoot faster than that. If you do your math on any classifier, 0.2 splits on open targets, we'll get it done. A 1 second draw, a 1 second reload, 0.2 splits. I'm a grandmaster. Congratulations. I don't need to do 16 splits. I don't need to have a 0.7 draw. I don't need to do all that. I need to do 1 second draw, 20 splits, and a 1 second reload every damn time, though. That's the difference. So set an acceptable goal, be able to hit that acceptable goal at a high percentage, and then be able to do it at random is the next thing. So a lot of these drills are Bill drill, Blake drills, El Prez. What do people do is they typically film 46 of them. The 47th run is their best run. They post that to Instagram and they inflate their own. And it's not that I don't want you to feel good about yourself. I want you to have a honest view of yourself, though. On the 47th run of doing the same thing the same way, you're going to build some muscle memory. You're going to have, I don't want to say luck, but you're going to be able to get lucky because you've been doing it for a long period of time. We're human beings. We learn through repetition. You'll be able to shut your brain off and eventually do it. But do you get to do that in USPSA ever? Do you ever get to shoot a stage more than once? If you got to reshoot twice. But is that ever normal, right? That's not a normal thing. You shoot a stage once and you need to be able to do your best the first time. So in practice, you're exploring. You want to see, hey, what are my benchmarks for acceptable? What can I do to a large percentage of time? And then I want to be able to do those benchmarks to a large percentage of time cold or at random. So this is where having a training journal or at least having something in your phone written down about where my metrics are, where I expect to be, and where I am all the time on certain targets. 7-yard open target, 15-yard open target, 25-yard open target, partials, piece of steel. You just have to have a good idea of where I am to a large percentage of time so I can start to make sense mathematically of these things instead of, well, that one time I drew to a steal at 0.9. Well, I don't care that one time. How did you do it? Can you do it every time? If you can't do it every time, it's not a strategy. It's, I did it once, right? I want this to be a strategy. Well, my whole cold performance metrics or my randomized training become a big training point here. I want you to through your skill training, define like, hey, a good draw is this. A good draw is in 1 second if I want to be a grandmaster at 7-yard open target. A good split is 0.2. A good transition matches my splits. They're in about within a tenth, right? My reload should be about a second if I want to be if I want to be able to shoot classifiers at that like 7-yard open target pace, right? So that's all good. I have all my numbers. Now I need to start randomizing things. Well, I'll use El Presidente as my first, because everybody's familiar with El Presidente, 7 yards, 3 targets spread apart, right? 3 yards apart from each other. You're going to turn and you're going to draw. There's metric 1. You're going to shoot a double. There's metric 2. You're going to do a transition. There's metric 3. You're going to do another transition, another double. And then you're going to do a reload. There's metric 4. And then repeat the process. I want you to be able to turn and draw within 10% of your normal best, your normal PRs to a large percentage of time. So you should be able to come out here and say, hey, my turn and draw is always 1-2 or therein. I'm going to turn draw. I'm going to shoot my turn and draw 1-2. I'm going to be able to do my 25 split that I swear I'm that fast at every single time. My transition, it's a 3-yard transition in El Pres. So let's say it's a 30 transition now, right? I want you to be able to get all those metrics, get all those numbers, and say to a high percentage of the time, I can shoot El Presidente at a B class level, A class level, GM level. And then my big randomized training thing is, well, after 15, 16 reps of it, you're just going to get better and better and better through virtue of repetition. Sometimes it's a good thing. Repetition is helpful as long as you're doing it with like set intentions and not for muscle memory. But instead, I have a better way of doing the repetitions. My goal is to say, well, how do I change a little bit, like randomize my training a little bit, but have repeatable metrics and measurable metrics? Well, if I take El Presidente and let's say I turn and draw, I shoot 1 on the first target, 2 on the second target, 3 on the third target, do a mandatory reload like I always do, and then do 1 again, 2 again, 3 again. Did I do 6 shots and 2 reloads? Or I'm sorry, 6 shots and 2 transitions? I did. Did I do a reload and then do that again? I did. So I can say, well, if my El Pres time is 5 seconds, my turn draw 1, 2, 3, reload 1, 2, 3 time should be the same time. It should be the same hit factor. It shouldn't affect my turn and draw time. It shouldn't affect my reload time to do 3 reload 3. Or I should be able to do El Presidente, turn draw, 3 shots, 2 shots, 1 shot, reload 1, 2, 3. You should be able to hold the time. You should be able to be within a large percentage, very consistent. You should be within 10% of yourself. And that's the whole goal here is you're trying to say, well, what's the match test? What's the test of your match? I think I just heard Sean Griffith say this, and he was saying it from somebody else, but I'm giving him credit because I just heard him say this. A match is a test of your floor, not your ceiling. So I'm now training to say, well, my acceptable metrics are this, and I'm training to make sure my floor is no lower than 10% from that at any given time, from a cold standard or at any given standard during the day. From a randomized, I don't need to repeat this to get what I want. I can just repeat any version of this in any order like a robot. People start to look at guys like Christian Seiler and Eric Raffel, and what do you say about guys like that? He's a robot. Oh, weird, right? What is Eric big on? Numbers, math. What are numbers and math based on? Reality, right? It has to be consistent. You have to be able to depend on things. They're not feelings, right? So a lot of this is saying, well, why is Eric Eric? He's consistently knows exactly what he's going to do and when he's going to do it. So he's robotic about it, right? There's a lot more magic to it. I'm just making it sound very simple, but that's kind of what I'm trying to get to here. It's just about he can. If you watch how Eric trains too, Eric Raffel doesn't ever train an array the same way every time. He sets a metric one way, trains it another way, shoots it another way, shoots it another way, and there should be congruency between the two. So the way I'm describing you shoot El Presidente, there's always a turn and draw. There's always a split somewhere. There's always a transition, and there's always a shot to reload to shot again. So you can measure those 4 attributes no matter which way you shoot that. That's the way you guys should start shooting these things. Bill drill is great. Draw, shoot 6. All right, Lake drill. Draw 2, 2, 2. Now I should be able to draw 1, 4, 1, and it should be the same time. I shouldn't have a difference. I shouldn't have a bad one shot and a shitty slow transition. I should be able to bop, 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 bop again. Should be not a big deal to me, right? If I could do that every single time, that becomes a fun. If you have a training partner, that's a fun goal. You guys throw each other the arrays, right? Hey, 1, 3, 2, go. You got to compress time to think about it. You have to shoot it in the correct order. And now the other side of things you're working on is the performance side of things. Hey, how am I going to get this done? You're not just spraying 2 at every target and doing it by muscle memory and shutting your brain off anymore. You're doing it differently each time. So you really have to drive your eyes to the target. 1 shot, 1, 2 shots, 1, 2, 3 shots, reload, 1 shot, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. You actually have to think, and then the next repetition is not going to be the same again. So you don't just shut your brain off. You have to now program 1, 2, 3. Sure. Now 2, 1, 3. If you have a training partner, it's fun because they could throw different orders at you. But typically what I'll do is at home, I'll just write a bunch of different orders down on the drill I'm going to run like the night before. I'm not going to commit that to memory. It's just randomly in my phone. I'm just going to sit there and just pick the drill I'm going to do tomorrow, write a bunch of random ways. I'm going to show up at the range. I'm going to shoot it those random ways, and I'm going to write down my hit factors and times. And I'm going to start to just look into what's the difference between them. And then why is there a difference between them if there is a large difference between them? Now, the other big thing is, let's say there's a large difference between my skills and my performance, meaning if I'm home and I'm just drawing and I have a 1 second draw, cool. And then I have a 1 second reload, cool. And I can always do doubles at 0.2, cool, but I don't ever push them together. I kind of look at it as siloed off skills. They're not going to be able to talk to each other. You have these big towers that have no connection between them. And then you go out and let's say you have a 1 second draw and a 20 split and all these great things. And in dry fire or in just when I'm just skill building, I'm just sitting there drawing or I'm just sitting there doing doubles. If you go and do this performance mode and that draw isn't within 10, 15% of your skill, well, there's a big problem there. It's not a subconscious skill yet. If I'm doing draws at 1 second and I go out and do El Presidente and all of a sudden my draw turns to 1-7, it's not a subconscious draw yet. It's not to say you don't have the ability to do a 1 second draw. You just don't have the ability to do it subconsciously yet. You just need to start to add that draw to other things. You need to start address how do I simplify this draw and start to make it more subconscious, not get the draw right on 15 reps. How do I become like Steve Anderson, the way Steve Anderson puts it, how do I become a professional in my best performance? How do I know exactly how do I get this best draw, not warm up to get it? I know exactly how to do it so that I can do it in dry fire, I can do it in live fire, I can write down how to do it. And then it's not a effort-based thing. It is just a simplistic-based thing. So this is big for me because then I start to look at all of this is not about finding your best rep today, your best run today. Your goal is to start to find like how consistent am I at on a given day? Can I maximize my performance from, let's say my skills are here. Can I get 100% of my skills in performance? If I can, good. Go develop your skills and keep going. If I'm trying to perform and my skills aren't really polished and they aren't really there, that's the first thing I'd start to address is the subconscious skill set, not the conscious skill set, not saying like, hey, I'm going to beat the par consciously on a draw to one shot. I'm going to start adding a 1 second draw par to an array and start to be aware of, can I actually take this 1 second draw into real shooting? Now, designated target is the other way to start using this training. People start to shoot designated target like it's a race, and it's shoot it fast. I'm not saying slow down, but I mean, like, I don't care if you put 4 open targets in front of you and you just rip up. If you shoot the 14 shots and you have a huge, great time and hit factor, I'm not saying it's not valuable. I'm saying I don't care if you do it one time of 15 and you got it right, and then you set it up in the range again the same way, and then you can do it again. It doesn't matter because designated target, like bill drills, like doubles, is a skill builder. It's a skill builder that involves being able to sequence targets properly, drive your eyes to targets, call shots, like have a proper grip to be able to maintain the speed involved in it, right? I want you to then say designated target's the same kind of thing. I don't want you to shoot designated target at 1 hit factor and drive it up to a 10 hit factor through repetition. Now, you need to build skills and use repetition to see like where you're at. That's good. But once you max out designated target, once you're like, hey, I'm shooting a 7 hit factor and I can't get it any higher, I could shoot a 7 hit factor time and time again. Well, I want you to say, let's shoot it a little different. If I'm shooting D target 1, D target 2, D target 3, D, flip it around. It should be D target 3, D target 2, D target 1, D. Right? Shouldn't be any different. It should be the same time. It should be the same everything. Your draw shouldn't change. Your split shouldn't change. Your transition shouldn't change. I want you to start having the idea that if I set a benchmark, I should be able to hold that benchmark every which way. I should be able to squeeze the juice out of this stage until I am just robotic. Now, the thing is, you'll start to see if I had a 7 hit factor and I just keep doing it right, it might turn to a 7-1, 7-2, 7-3, 7-4 hit factor. Meaning, as I'm doing this in random repetition, I'm actually building the skill as a valuable skill, not a skill that was built off of repetition and muscle memory, a skill that I'm starting to actually develop a subconscious skill. I'm starting to actually understand what I'm doing, and I'm actually starting to apply it more consistently. And the funny thing is as these hit factors get higher, you'll have the sensation of, I'm not seeing less, I'm seeing more. I'm not feeling faster. I'm seeing everything. It's just that you're actually building these skills because you're doing the same skill at random. You're building the ability to do that skill at a subconscious level rather than do it consciously in a certain pattern. Then there are no favorites. You don't need to shoot a certain way. In this style training, you don't really have any value to anything. You just have times. I know it takes me X to do this skill. It takes me Y to do this skill. It takes me Z to do this skill. It doesn't matter what order you put it in front of me. So when you go to a match, you could draw, shoot, reload, shoot. You could draw, transition. It doesn't matter. That's what every stage is. Every stage is an arbitrary collection of these couple of things. So don't try to go to the range and practice them in a prescribed order. Go to the range and practice them in a random order in every which way. Hold yourself to a real consistent way of doing things so that you don't have the floor drop out of you on a stage in the match. Because remember, it's a game of averages. And if you have a bunch of GM runs and then you have a 0 in a stage, it doesn't matter. You're not going to win that match. You're not going to hold your score. You're not going to shoot honestly, right? So you're looking for consistency. You're looking to be able to say, I can do within a certain percentage of my best all the time, no lower. I think that's a pretty reasonable way of looking at things. Now, most people have the ability to shoot doubles, bill drills, maybe a Blake drill, maybe an El Presidente. I'd mentioned designated target. Now, designated target, I end up just calling designated stuff now because designated target's interesting, but I'll start to use designated target and set a general benchmark, and then I'll start to add movement to designated target. You have to be creative when you do this. So designated target, I'm going to set up an arbitrary array, but I'm going to make sure the designated target is what I would consider a smash target. JJ's word is attack, predictable target, Ben, whatever you want to say. A 7-yard open target that you should be able to throw your eyes to and see 2 flashes of red and achieve 2 alphas, right? Something really easy. Now, the other targets are totally arbitrary, don't matter. I just don't care. Put them anywhere you want. 25-yard partials, easy targets, hard targets, doesn't matter. But the goal is you're going to stationary shoot this designated target based off the smash target. All right, cool. Once you have your hit factor, it's a 5 hit factor, good, great, grand. What I want you to do is put a stick down in front of you, and I want you to move and draw over that stick and shoot the smash target. And every time you shoot the smash target, you have to move your feet. So you're going to draw, step over, shoot the smash target. Now you're stationary for target 1. And then as you come back and shoot the smash target again, I want you moving your feet back over the stick, reverse, and shooting at the same time. So your goal is to start to blend and start to use, hey, if I can shoot designated target at a 5 hit factor, I want to start to find the way that my body can shoot this designated easy target, blend this designated target in the movement into designated target drill here, and start to lose no more than, like I said, about 10% of my hit factor, about 10% of my available points, right? That would say, hey, I have permission to move my feet. Now, if you go to do this designated drill and all of a sudden you're shooting Charlie Stelches and Mikes on what otherwise would be an easy target, tells me you're not really ready to move and shoot or blend yet. It's not to say don't do that. I want you to now say, how the hell do I make my body and feet and hands and eyes act in such a way that I can shoot at this target, this smash open target that I've already predefined is an easy target that I can shoot a double on? How can I lose no more than 10% and move my feet over it, right? You could start to say, well, then I don't have to go faster on that smash target. We already agreed. If I get to that target and I shoot a double on it, I don't need to go any faster. What you need to do is start to be able to shoot that, lose no points, and move at the same time. Exit, enter, right? That's blending. That's where you're going to start gaining more points in the sport rather than trying to shoot the difference between a 0.2 split and a 16 split. I think the difference in a 16 split and a 20 split is dumb. I think if I can do a 20 split, but I can gain 1 second in movement speed at the same time, that's incredible. That's a lot better than trying to shoot a 16 flat-footed real fast and catch up to me who've already had taken off. So now you're looking at designated target. You can add a lot. You can add movement to it, and you could be creative with that designated target stuff. You could have, I'll end up putting a grid on the ground or at least an L on the ground, and I'll draw a step forward. And then on the next time I see designated target, I'll step backwards. The next time I see designated target, I'll step right and then I'll step left. So I have to put a little grid on the ground, and you could work all directions of movement like that. You'll start to get a little bit creative and add more movement to the designated target. But then the discipline is don't move your feet on the other targets, because that's my stage plan. So maybe make those targets harder. Make it a headshot at 25 yards. Make it a piece of steel. Make it something that you shouldn't move on. And then you're going to really say, hey, what's my discipline? I'm not going to move on this target. I'm not just going to just arbitrarily step around and shoot and throw my gun around and try to shoot fast. I'm actually going to blend the easy target, and I'm going to stop, and I'm going to control the hard targets, and I'm going to start to get myself into a performance mode here, rather than just individualizing these targets and getting good at them individually, or getting good at them in a certain order that I'll never see again because I set the targets up. Right? I'm not going to see this as a stage. It's not going to happen. And then I kind of joke, don't try to set up stages that are coming to matches, because they're always going to be a little different. But I have written down stage training. That's not what I mean, though. Just made me think about that. When you see your match books and stuff, go through the match books and see, like, what are my start positions? What kind of targets I'm going to see at a large percentage? What are the targets I'm worried about? And then with the same approach, don't try to shoot them in a prescribed order, because it's going to change in the match book. Use them at random, shoot them at random, get comfortable at shooting those attributes in random orders. And then when it pops up to the match, you're not worried about it. You shouldn't stage plan off of the match book, because something might change. So if you try to plan the match book, you try to plan the stage, and you get to there the day of and something has changed, you're going to be pretty pissed because you memorized it one way. But if you could shoot that 25-yard popper you're worried about, or that 40-yard popper that Keanu is going to set up at Maryland, right? If you're worried about that, don't try to mimic his matchbook. Just put a 40-yard popper into your training, shoot it at random until you know how to shoot it from the left, from the right, from an attack target, from a control target, from moving, from stuff. Just shoot it every which way. And then when you go to the match, you could just plug in whatever works best. It sounds simple when you say it like that, but simple and easy are two separate things. And especially when it gets to shooting, people like to chase the rabbit and like try to go faster, better, rather than consistency being the focus. So I wrote down stage training, as I mentioned, because some of us have stages you could work with. Like you might just be at a club that has a bunch of props, a bunch of space, like Audalani, Old Bridge. Some of these places you can set up stuff all over the place. I have stages up all the time in one of my bays, so I can train stages. So one of my favorite thing with stages is not running the stage time and time again for a better hit factor, because again, we don't get to do that. That's not the point. Like that's not how you should train, because there's no application of that. Like you're not going to run the same stage over and over again. Now, if you screw a stage up, like, hey, I know I did something wrong, I'm going to run it again to say this time I will do this thing better. So let's say I'll get a clean single run on a stage. Once it's clean and once it's good and once I like what I like, that's going to be my benchmark, kind of like El Prez, kind of like designated target, kind of like the original, just do a build drill and hey, that's how fast I can shoot all 32 points on this field course, right? Well, then I want you to just start somewhere else. Pretty simple. If you have 3 positions in a stage and you shot 1 position, 2 position, 3 position, start at position 2 and just shoot position 2, position 3, run all the way to position 1 and shoot position 1. Now, I know the stage time might not be exactly the same if that run from position 3 to position 1 is really long, but I don't care. What you're going to do is look at your timer from the first time you ran it, and there's going to be a shooting event. At position 1, I shot the targets this fast at this accuracy. There is a movement to 2, so there's another little data point I can look at later. But at position 2, I shot these targets at this speed, and I got this hit factor. From position 2 to position 3, that was my movement time. Position 3, same thing. So then when you start the next stage, I know 1, 2, 3 was a good run. I know my hit factor. I'm going to start at 2. The hit factor at position 2, let's say, if it was 9 shots and it took me 4 seconds the first time, it better be 9 shots in 4 seconds this time, right? The draw, you get to look, hey, is my draw the same every time? If it's an easy target I'm starting on, is it a hard target I'm starting on? I get to see how consistent is my draw, and then how consistent am I shooting this array? And then if I'm moving from position 2 to 3 again, that movement won't change. Position 3 should be the same. The only variable here is, hey, my movement from position 3 to position 1 will be different from the first run. But when I get to position 1, should that position be any different? Should I have less points or more time? No, it should be the same. And now you're starting to say, well, I'm going to shoot these stages for consistency. How much consistency is there? Well, on a stage like I'm talking about, let's say it's a lateral stage and you're running from position 1 on the right, 2 in the middle, 3 on the left. Well, if I have to run all the way from 3 to 1, obviously it might be a little bit longer, but who cares? We know how to now assess this mathematically. But I like triangle stages or square stages, because theoretically, if I start at position 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, and I run the same way, and I don't cover more or less ground, I should be very, very close in time. There might be a slight variability in like an entry speed or a distance, whatever. There might be slight variances, but now you're starting to look for, I want to be able to shoot this stage, this triangle stage. I want to be able to shoot it from each corner, each point of the triangle. I want to be able to shoot that hit factor the same every single time. And then I'm going to start planning to maximize the hit factor no matter what my start position is, instead of picking my favorite start position and then trying to run my favorite stage my favorite way 25 times, because that's not how you should be training for performance. You should be repping skills. You should be repping skills, maybe rep a draw with the transition, draw, transition, reload, fine. If you're going to run par times, if you're going to dry fire that, if you're going to do that for skills, that's great. But when you start to get into this performance training, don't try to beat the drill. Like, you're not going to beat a stage. You're not going to beat designated target. You're not going to beat build drills. You're not going to beat a double. Nobody's going to come and give you an award for shooting the best double. Nobody's going to come give you an award for shooting the best build drill. I mean, there is that build drill, whatever thing that happened at Nationals like 2021, but nobody's done it since, right? It doesn't matter. It's not the big thing. Those guys are good shooters who won, but it doesn't guarantee like, oh, that guy can shoot the fastest build drill, he's going to win every match. Like, it's not 1-to-1, right? So you start to look at like, I want to now start thinking about this training from skill side of things. Like, hey, if I have this skill, do I really have a 1 second draw? Can I do a 1 second draw every single time, every which way? Can I do the same split in the transition to the same target, the same every single time? I mean, largely speaking, the consistency side of things is the hardest thing, but it shows you the most, where it shows you where I didn't get lucky. I left time on the field, right? Like, I don't want you depending on getting lucky on a shot. And like, my best run was me getting lucky. Now, if you get lucky in a match, good for you. Great. If you get lucky in a drill, always take it. Like, I'm not going to say it was a bad thing, but I want to train for consistency, not train for luck. I want to train for consistency, not train for maximizing my skill after 40 reps, right? It's just not how the sport works. It's not how gun training works, or shouldn't be how firearms training works, at least in the performance side of things, right? Repetition is for skill building. And then if you want to really test your skills or test your performance side of things, it's not muscle memory. You're not going to shoot a stage 15 times and then be able to input your best score. It's not how it works. This isn't, and I mean, I'm not knocking Steel Challenge, but Steel Challenge is a different game. Like, you can program those stages. Those stages are always the same. Same thing with like IDPA has the same classifier, like at every match that you're always going to run the same way. So classifiers are one of the things people get hung up on, and this is why I save it for the end. Classifiers, I mentioned El Presidente. I know it's a classifier. I'm not dumb. I know. But I mentioned classifiers because I always get the question, like, should I practice classifiers? I think shooting classifiers for practice is a good thing as long as you're doing it in the vein of what I'm talking about here. Not, I heard a certain classifiers coming this Sunday, so I'm going to shoot it for repetition. Come on, man. Come on. Like, of course, you're going to get better at it as you shoot it for repetition, and you're going to figure out the best way to shoot it or ever. But you also have to be aware that if you're shooting it for your 45th time, you're going to step up and you're going to have to shoot it cold at the match. It's not going to feel the same. So shoot it cold to practice it. Whatever. Do your El Presidente, do whatever. It doesn't matter. Do whatever classifier, set it up, be able to shoot it. And then, like I said, shoot it at random. If it's there's one out there that I always remember. It's called 3V. You have your hands on a barricade. There's 7 targets. You could shoot 4 from one side, 3 from another side. Well, okay, do it every which way. I want you to shoot 3 on the right side, 4 on the left side, 4 on the right side, 3 on the left side. I want you to start on the left, go to the right, right, left, shoot different variances of every time. And you should have a similar hit factor every time. And then when you go to shoot it the first time, you know that I could do the same score, the same time, the same way every time. It's not I have to warm up for it. You know you can do that. So that's a positive affirmation as you're walking up to this classifier. The second thing you're going to do is you get to shoot it your favorite way this time. It's a classifier. You shot it your favorite way for a benchmark in practice, and then you shot it every other which way. And even though you were shooting it not your favorite way, you learned to do it, right? Well, now when you come to the classifier, you're like, well, now I know how to do it. I have a deeply rooted skill set here. And now I also, I get to do it my favorite way. Hell yeah, let's go. And you're going to maximize your performance because you feel great about it. So I saved the classifier talk for the end. Classifiers are great because they're simple to set up. They have a ton of metrics in them for you to compare yourself to other shooters. And they're just a basic collection of skill sets. Draw, shoot again, transition, reload your gun. What else is there, right? Like that's kind of the whole reason I like classifiers. It's not your mission to go try to spend 3 hours picking one apart and learning how to GM it. I want you to learn why I GM'd it, how I could do this every single time, how I can do it every which way, how it can start to affect my consistency on these targets. So this is my little podcast I wanted to do on like, I don't want to call it a spicy podcast. I don't want to call it like a because I'm not like calling anybody out. I'm not looking at anybody and yelling at this. This is just like a general zeitgeist thing I'm talking about. There's no single shooter or single person or single instructor that I'm like yelling about in this, because I don't think any good instructors talk in this kind of way or talk against me right now, like in the way I'm talking. I say this because I love you guys. Like, I have people who they go out to a match and they practiced. I'm not going to say the wrong way, but we'll say the repetition way. And they go to a match and they get their heart broken because they're like, well, I thought I was good. And you are good, man. You're good just after 25 reps. We just need to shorten the amount of reps it takes to get you there. That's all. I want you to be able to shoot close to your best time, your first time, and then be able to shoot close to your best time, every which way. That's all. I care about you. It's not a bill drills are dumb because this guy said it's dumb. It's not against any shooter or anybody I'm seeing out there. This is just like, hey, this style training is what helped me the most. And that's always my big thing in all this. I don't have any assumptions. I wait. I test myself, first of all. Second of all, I try it on other people I trust, other students I trust. And if it's repeatable, then I start to yell it to the masses. None of this is, hey, I think this works. I think this works. This is all stuff that has worked for me and works for other people. I came from a lesson today where it works like clockwork. It's fun. It's fun because it works all the time. It's not a good day, bad day. Like, it works all the time. This I call it a system because the systems work. Like, you could always test this. And I call it a system because systems can always be tested and improved. So it's a system. It's a system that's a living, breathing system that I'm always going to keep working on. But thank you guys for like listening to this little talk on this. That said, you want to do some bill drills, you want to impress me, hold your bill drill standards, walk back to 10 yards. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to start to see impressive bill drills, a draw and shoot 6 at 25 yards, all alpha, 2 seconds. Now we're talking impressive. Now we're talking cool. But 2-second bill drills at 7 yards ain't in anymore, boys. Move on. Let's go. Like, let's hold ourselves to a better standard. Let's go faster. Let's be better. We don't need to be simple here. We don't need to be simpletons as much as everybody thinks we are. We're not just cavemen banging Glocks on the ground. I mean, maybe I am, but we're trying not to be. So thank you guys for kind of sticking with me through this. All the sponsors I mentioned in the beginning, if you head to my website, CallahanTrainingGroup.com, I have a little sponsor tab that has all the links to click in. I had codes for most of these people, so you can buy their stuff at discounts, ammo included. My website also has all my signups. So CallahanTrainingGroup.com/booking has all of my stuff on it, including Keita, Mason, Steve Anderson, all the group classes, my private training, which is mostly what I'm up to all the time. So if you're in the Northeast, if you're in the Pocono area, I have time. I have open books right now. They're starting to get real full through the spring. As it gets nice, everybody gets real froggy. But if you want to book some time with me, I always have stages set up. We can always go through this. I have my CTG standards out now. So if you want to earn a patch, come shoot it in front of me if you dare. Otherwise, thank you guys for sticking with me. As I always say to everybody, don't forget to dry fire.